What's up? What's up? All right, today the title of today's discussion is The Wounded Healer and Alchemist, how your pain becomes your power. We've been talking about reality creation a lot, but today we're going to look at it from a very different perspective. We are going to talk about alchemy. We are going to talk about all those things that you don't want to confront. You get in this manifestation space because you want to change your life in a more positive trajectory. But what if you have things that you're holding on to? Pain, heartbreak, loss, lack, grief, betrayal, all of these things. How do we handle it? So we have done discussions in the past where we talk about healing, we talk about alchemy, but we're going to do this from a very empowering way. So it's going to be a little change of pace. Put on your alchemy hat, because this could be the very thing that leads you to what you want to create in your life. All right, let's get into it. Let me make sure I'm live. We can get right into it. All right, let's go. All right, so running from anything denies blessings. You are a divine, beautiful God, a divine, beautiful goddess, right? Running from anything denies blessings, okay? Your task is not to seek for love. Insert whatever you want with love. Your task is not to seek for love, seek for prosperity, seek for worthiness, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And how do you do this? By confronting yourself. We talk about how every moment is an opportunity for you to run against yourself, run into yourself, understand the story you've been telling. How have you been relating to the world? Every moment is giving you an opportunity to see now, all right? But when we step into this from a more divine perspective, right? When we start looking for how can we alchemize things, right? Where is my soul trying to welcome me back home by offering me what I perceive as pain? This is when you can really start to create the life that you want, all right? So let's get into this. You say you want to evolve, but are you willing to bleed for it? Everyone wants the light, but few are brave enough to walk through the fire that forges it. Pain is not the enemy. It is the sculptor of your soul, chiseling away everything false until only truth remains. The agony you avoid is often the altar where your transformation begins. You are not being punished. You are being purified. Growth is not always graceful. It often comes cloaked in grief, asking if you're ready to shed the skin that no longer fits the soul that you are becoming. Growth is not always graceful. Does that mean you're any less worthy? Of course not. You're still just as worthy, just as divine, just as beautiful, just as powerful. There is nothing that can make you any more or less worthy, right? However, growth, you growing, you actually going through these negative situations that are really just meant to give you clarity, it's not always graceful. It often comes cloaked in grief, right? But we all know that loss is an illusion. Loss is an illusion. Death is an illusion. This is even what Christ, Jesus, representing your I am awareness, was trying to teach us by raising up people from the dead. Think about the story of Lazarus. What happened in that story? The disciples were around Lazarus. Lazarus was in the tomb, right? On the fourth day, Jesus showed up. This is important. The fourth day. Why? Because it's common belief that after 3 days, the soul leaves the body. Okay? So if you pass away, it is this knowledge that for 3 days, your soul is still there. All right? And so these people, they knew that Jesus could bring him back. But what did they say? If only you were a day earlier, Lazarus would still be here. And this is why it says Jesus wept. Jesus cried. Ye of little faith, right? You know that your I am awareness, the God within you, can do all things. Yet you are comparing the God within you to your natural understanding of how the spirit world works, of how the physical world works. What do you know, right? And then what happens? Of course, we know that Lazarus was brought back, okay? This is showing us that death in any way that we can imagine it is an illusion, right? This is what it's saying. Now, what if the suffering that you curse is the sacred doorway that you've been praying for? What if the prosperity is just on the other side of you actually going through that heartbreak, of you actually facing yourself? The womb of rebirth is dark, lonely, and silent, not because you are dying, but because something divine is forming within you. The cocoon does not apologize for the pressure it applies to wings not yet ready. Right? Your soul, right? The source within you is not going to apologize, right, for the pressure it is applying on you to sprout, to grow your wings, to fly, to become more divine, to become more in unity with who you really are. All right? So, neither should you apologize for breaking. You're still worthy. But you have to go through these things to truly understand your power, to truly see your divine nature as an alchemist, right? In this stillness, in this storm, in this strange silence, you are being summoned, not to survive. We don't go through situations just to survive them, all right? We face situations head on because we are divine, right? We don't go through situations just to survive, but to become. Let the pain baptize you. Let it remake you and let it teach you how to rise. All right. So the alchemy of sorrow, the womb of rebirth and the soul's sacred return. Right. If you've ever been through heartbreak, through grief, through betrayal, through loss, this should resonate with you. Right. We're going to take an empowering perspective on how to get through whatever you're going through. Understanding that the blessings that you want, the fulfillment that you want, right? That good feeling that you want, all those worldly things that you desire, right? Those things are attached to a version of you that is not afraid to face themselves. Understanding that reality is just a mirror, right? You're creating all of it. And so you're confronting yourself every time you confront something outside of you. All right, so the call within the cry. There is a kind of agony so deep that it doesn't scream, it echoes. It doesn't destroy, it hollows you into a chalice for the divine. It hollows you into a chalice, right? That solitude, that pain that seems to empty you out, right? We can talk about this from a whole bunch of different perspectives, right? If you look out in nature, you can see this all the time. I want you to think about a seed that is planted in the ground, right? What happens is that seed is surrounded by darkness, the same way that we can be surrounded by darkness when we go through tough times. And that seed's growing. It's trying to move. It doesn't know which way is up, left, right, down, backwards, right? Until it gets out of the soil. And then it sprouts. All right. This is the same way that there are going to be times where you are covered, surrounded by darkness. You're going through a heartbreak. You're going through a tough time financially, whatever the case may be. This is not the time to hide from that pain. The only way that you can get out of that darkness is to illuminate the light from within you and actually be able to see through the dark. It is going to be you with yourself. It is going to be you and your soul versus yourself. You have to confront yourself to get out of these difficult times. Right? And we have to go within to do it. This is that narrow path that all these spiritual teachers talk about. The path within is the narrow path. What is the path that is traveled by everyone is trying to find God out there. Trying to find their salvation out there, whether it's through another person, right? Whether it's through these books, whether it's through some teacher out there on the internet, wherever the case may be, trying to find our salvation outside of us. And what do? Whenever we search outside of us for our salvation, we just find ourselves, because everything out there is simply a mirror. It's simply a reflection. It isn't until you go within that you can find the infinite. This is the paradox, right? You can search outside of you for your entire life. You'll never find anything. It isn't until you go within, because the kingdom is within you, right, that you're actually going to find source. You're going to find that unlimited strength that can get you through any darkness. Right? Alchemy. You are an alchemist. This is your nature. Your nature is an alchemist. Right? Your nature is not to run from anything. Your nature is you created everything. You are all that is. Right? The source that flows through you creates worlds, creates galaxies, creates realities, timelines with every thought. Right? When you have these thoughts, right, there's a version of you experiencing that right now. There's a whole nother reality, right, that was created by the source within you. Do you understand how powerful you are? Do you see it? Do you see yourself? What do you see when you look in the mirror? Do you see a victim? Do you see someone small? Or do you understand that the God within you creates worlds? Okay? So there is a kind of agony so deep it doesn't scream, it echoes. It doesn't destroy, it can't destroy. right? It hollows you into a chalice for the divine. You cannot be destroyed by any circumstance in your life because you created it. You're the creator. You are source. You are all that is. It's all you. Everything outside of you is you. Okay? It can't destroy you. It's only there to teach you a lesson. All right? The wound that you carry is not punishment. It is initiation into deeper levels of consciousness, a deeper relationship with yourself, a deeper relationship with source. All the things that you want are on the other side of you confronting yourself. It is not the end of your story. It is the breaking open of your beginning. All right. So Job 13:15, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. We have to understand that scripture, what it's really doing, it is narrating these different aspects of yourself, interacting with yourself. All right. Though he slay me, who slays you? The source within you, the God within you. So the same way that you are within source, source is within you. You cannot separate the two of you. Y'all walking hand in hand, whether you like it or not. This is why, consciously or unconsciously, you are the creator of your life. Whether you know that or not, doesn't matter. You're not exempt from that law. It's just like gravity. It doesn't matter if you know about gravity or not. You still can't jump in the air and fly away. All right? Whether you understand or not that you are source, you are creating your reality with your experiences, your perspectives, your outlooks, your beliefs. The story that you are telling moment to moment is the story that you are writing, that you begin to experience as you walk through this linear reality. It's all you. It's how divine you are, right? Think about how beautiful and poetic that is. You're creating all of this so you can walk through all of this and learn yourself more as the creator. Why are you running? Why are you running? Right? You think that you've been unloved because you've been remembering incorrectly. You're trying to find love in the mirror, thinking that your exes were the ones who were supposed to validate you. Your parents were supposed to validate you. No, they weren't. You were supposed to validate yourself with the God within you. And only then, when you are validated, can the external world reflect validation because you are already validated. Whenever you are looking for validation and healing out there, what universe says is, oh, look, they're missing something within them because they're looking for it out here. Let's make it match out here too. So now you just get the mirror. This is all you get. You get the mirror. You are running to the mirror for validation, and it's reflecting situations that make you run to the mirror more. It's just a reflection. But how divine is that game, right? It's just so you can understand yourself, so you can see yourself more clearly. Okay? So pain is the passage. All right, I didn't really even finish that. Job 13:15, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. Who is him? This source that is within you. Why is this source within you slaying you? So you can wake your dense-headed ass up and remember who you are. You go through these situations to purge that victim version of you. And it has to get to a point where you look out in the world and you realize, damn, it's my expectations and beliefs creating all of this. And until I confront that and I slay that old version of me, it will continue to run my life. Right? So pain is the passage. Pain is the passage. Loneliness is the lamp, right? We get into this space of spirituality and consciousness and manifestation, and we think light and love and rainbows and butterflies, and motherfuckers start suppressing pain. Start walking through this life thinking that happiness and joy, right, and these quote unquote positive emotions keep them in alignment with what they want. No. If that was the case, everybody who walked around feeling good, right, would have everything that they want. That's not the case. Okay? What are your expectations? You are worthy whether you're happy or not. You have to go through seasons in life, right? If you want to learn about everything, learn about anything. Everything is a reflection of everything. You are source. Okay? Everything is showing you who you are. Your nature is in everything. The consciousness that is flowing within you is in everything. Look at nature. Nature goes through seasons. Whether you believe they're natural or not, right? It goes through seasons right now, okay? So we have a season of death. We have a season of sowing. We have a season of reaping the harvest, right? The same way that you have seasons in your life. Sometimes you have a season of mourning. Think about that. You have a season of mourning. All right. So when you're in this season of mourning, what is happening? You are in the metaphorical womb. You are the seed that is planted. You are in the darkness. And this is the time when we allow those emotions to flow, right? And when you allow those emotions to flow, this is that feminine energy washing out that old version of you. And then you are rebirthed into the world, a new version of you. This is the death and rebirth cycle. You go through this every time you have a difficult situation. This is the story of the phoenix, the bird that creates a nest, lights it on fire, jumps in it, kills itself so it can be reincarnated in a much more divine version, a much more beautiful version. This is the experience that you are going through. These situations are not meant to break you. They can't break you. You're source. You're just going to pass away and come back anyway. Death is an illusion. You can do this all day. This is the divine game that you signed up for. You are divine. You are here to create. You are here to experience reality, create reality. Now, you're not here to suffer. You are not here to be a victim to anyone. You can't be a victim to anyone. That's why you don't even feel good doing it. Because that God within you is looking at you saying, we're not in alignment right now. Okay? Think about your emotions like this. There is only one emotion. It is source. It is infinite consciousness. Okay? It is the God within you. It's one emotion. Now you have an ego that you walk through life with. And through that ego, you filter things. All right? You filter things. Right? Your ego just helps you. You need an ego to be attached to this reality, first and foremost. Right? Can't 100% kill it. But your ego creates stories to keep you safe. And what it also does is it filters this energy. So you have this one energy of divinity flowing through you. And if you have a negative assumption about a situation, all of a sudden that energy is not reflected, it is filtered through your ego and it comes out as a negative emotion. You feel anxiety because you're remembering yourself incorrectly. So your emotions are nothing to run away from. They are things to confront. They are things to alchemize, to transmute. This is why pain is such a passage, man. Pain is a passage. It's a passage to higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of understanding yourself. What would I have to believe to be true to feel this way right now? Right? And you instantly change that belief, right? You can reprogram yourself over time, but all that matters is right now. What are you conscious of being right now? So I have this negative feeling, right? I do the work. I understand, it's because I'm remembering myself incorrectly. I'm thinking that I'm unloved by looking at this situation out here, but it's just a reflection because source is within me. I am infinite love. I could never be unloved. I was never unloved. I've been remembering myself wrong. And so immediately that old belief fades away and this new reality that reflects who you are right now is projected from within you. And now you walk down the path of realizing that moment by moment. It's only about what you're conscious of being right now. All right? I know I'm dumping a whole lot of information in this one. All right, so pain is the passage, loneliness is the lamp. Isolation is not abandonment. It is the sacred cave of transformation. Isolation is the sacred cave of transformation. It's how you grow, right? Even relationships, even if we look at this from a worldly perspective, when do the relationships grow? The honeymoon phase, you might think that's real love, but you find out who you really are when y'all go through something, right? Until you can transmute and alchemize those quote unquote disagreements, which are just opportunities for deeper connection. Until you can transmute those into deeper connection, what are y'all doing? You're just enjoying the chemicals of the honeymoon phase. That's it. You're just enjoying the honeymoon phase together. And it's all supposed to be happy and fun. There's no connection in that. You think it's connection until y'all get to the point where y'all start transmuting together, alchemizing together, growing together. This is the same way that you do yourself, right? To walk around thinking that you should just be happy all the time, maybe, but where is the growth in that? We have to be able to confront ourselves. Our emotions show us our weak spots. They show us where the work needs to start. They're just tools. It's nothing to condemn, nothing to push aside or suppress or run away from. These things are just trying to teach you. They're trying to help you. Okay? They're just trying to help you. All right? Let them fall off. Right? Let them fall off so that the new can be born. All right? The new connections, right? They can't go where you're going. Right? You got prosperity in your future, man. right? Everybody can't go there with you, right? This is why sometimes people in our life fall off. Sometimes the people you're with can't go down there with you, right? They cannot go down that path with you. Or you need to drop weight so you can expand, and then typically, they might circle back if they're in alignment or not, right? So Rumi, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Your path is not to seek fulfillment out there. There's no fulfillment out there. There's no validation out there. It's simply to go within and break down all the walls that are keeping you from getting everything that you want within yourself, okay? So the sacred wound. Cracks that let God. I feel like I cooked in this next section, right? I feel like there's some gems right here. What if your suffering wasn't senseless, but sacred? In every tradition, the wound is where the divine enters. All right, so let's talk about this from a couple of different perspectives. I already talked about the phoenix, so I'm not going to get into that. But I'm going to talk about the Christ, right? Your I am awareness, Jesus, Yeshua, all right? And then we're going to talk about Chiron, the Greek, the centaur. So we're going to talk about this in two different perspectives. All right, so Christ's pierced side from which blood and water flowed. Okay, what did this signify in Scripture? The birth of a new covenant. Don't care whether you believe this is history or not. All right, we're going to look at this from a purely metaphorical sense. Okay, from Christ's side flowed blood and water, not just proof of death, but the waters of rebirth, the sacred elements of initiation. This was not just a man pierced, it was a veil torn between humanity and the divine. In his wound, right? So in his wound, when they pierced his side, blood and water poured out. Okay, what did this wound represent? This wound represented a womb. Okay, so a covenant born not through conquest, but through agony. A covenant born through agony. He did not ascend. Okay, so when we talk about the Christ consciousness, when we talk about the crucifixion in this metaphysical way, right? The death of the old you, crucifying that old version of you, that victim version of you, and rising as a more divine being. All right, a covenant born not through conquest, but through agony. He did not ascend by avoiding pain. He transmuted it. That wound whispers to every broken soul, your suffering too can become sacred. So one way to look at this, right, is, he died for me, I don't have to do shit, right? Another way to look at it is that wound whispers to anyone going through something, right? You too, through your suffering, can become sacred. It's alchemy. You too, through your suffering, can become sacred. You are not destroyed in your breaking, you are delivered. Cool. All right. So, Chiron, I know somebody's going to pronunciate this correctly for me, right? The wounded healer in Greek mythology who could not heal himself, but birthed healing for others. Let's look at this. Okay. So, the immortal centaur of Greek mythology. Okay. This man was immortal, but not like others. The other centaurs were wild and untamed. Okay. But he was wise, gentle, a teacher of heroes, and a healer of gods. But in a cruel twist of fate, he was wounded by a poison arrow and could never heal himself. So despite his immortality, he lived in eternal agony. And yet, out of that unending pain, he birthed wisdom. He became the archetype of the wounded healer. The wounded healer archetype, right? So this is what this story is about. The one who, through his own suffering, becomes a guide for others. His pain did not disqualify him. His pain connected him to his gifts. By facing his pain, he was connected to his gifts, right? It initiated him. His wound was not his weakness, it was his offering. Every single one of you is special because you exist. And you have gifts to give back to the world. Your story can help people, even if it's just your son or your daughter, not experiencing the same stuff that you do. Right? Going through a process or a journey where your wisdom gives them the insight that they need to have a better life, to rise in their consciousness, right? Or a stranger. All right. You're going to give your gifts in all these different ways. If you look in the mirror right now and you understand that you are source and you love yourself, right? How could you condemn any situation that you've been through? Think about it like this, okay? Who is more sacred on the journey? The one that breaks your heart? That makes you go within yourself? That pushes you down this painful path for a year and a half, right? And then all of a sudden you go within and you start doing this work and you're like, okay, this is where I need to be better. This is where I fell short. And then you end up with the one that you want. Who is more sacred, the one you end up with or the one who broke you down? Who's to say? It's all perspective. Who is to say? But there's an argument for both. Would you even have the one that you end up with without the other one, right? So there is always clarity in whatever you're going through. There's always clarity in whatever you are going through, all right? So Jerome's myth is a mirror. The very thing that we believe disqualifies us is often the thing that makes us divine. Like Christ's cross or the mystic's heartbreak, Jerome reminds us that unhealed pain can still produce healing. Sometimes you carry a wound not so it can be fixed, but so it can be felt, so it can birth compassion, wisdom, and the kind of power that only comes from knowing the depths, right? The people that you know that are the most beautiful, the deepest people, right? The people with the most empathy, the ones that you don't mind going to because they're not just gonna straight up judge you. Oh, why should you do that, right? The most beautiful people you know, why are they beautiful? They have experienced life and allowed themselves to stay beautiful. They were given the opportunity, presented with pain, and they were given a choice. Take the path of beauty or the path of bitterness. It's always a choice. You have that choice in every single situation. Be still and know that I am God, or be a victim to the world. Which one? Understand that this is just a mirror, a reflection of you, an opportunity for you to get deeper within yourself, for you to get closer to the source within you, right? Consciously, right? Because you can never get closer to the source within you. The source within you is you. It's closer than your breath, closer than your thoughts, right? If you hug yourself, the divine hugs you tighter, okay? So whether you are conscious of this or not, source is within you, but you want to be conscious of this. Sometimes it takes these situations to push us into that divine knowing of who we are, all right? So in what didn't kill you, there lies your ministry. You are not broken, you are becoming medicine, okay? You are becoming medicine. So also the mystics who saw heartbreaks as the fire that burns away illusion to reveal truth. The pain you run from is the portal that you pray for. Okay, you are divine, you are source, right? You are God's, right? You don't run from anything. It's all from within you. Your job is to confront, to face, understand the miracle that you are sitting in. You sit in the middle of a miracle and you still look around for signs of source. Understand that everything in your life is being created by you. It's an opportunity for you to face yourself, for you to grow in your divinity. It's all beautiful, okay? The wound is not a flaw. It is the fingerprint of your becoming. As Leonard Cohen once said, there is a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. The same way you're in a dark building, right? If there's a crack in the ceiling, the sun is going to come in through that single crack and illuminate the entire building. This is what these cracks within you do, is they allow you to let that source within you flow. Allow that source within you to flow through those cracks, to illuminate and remind you of who you really are. All right, 2 Corinthians 12:9, my strength is made perfect in weakness. Okay, so next section. There is a silence that only those in pain know. Okay, it is not the silence of peace, but of pruning. It is the stripping of everything false until all that remains is you and God, you and source, the God within you and you, right? This is why Jesus says, if you believe that the kingdom is out there, you'll think the birds are closer. If you think that the kingdom is out there, you will tell people, hey, I need you to pray for me. I'm going through a difficult time. This is our ego that believes in separation, that thinks that we can be separated from our Creator. Right? This is why so many spend all their time looking and searching and running, trying to find something out there. They searching drugs. They searching meaningless sex. They searching temples. They searching books. And it isn't until they go within that they find everything that they are searching for. Everything out there is just a mirror. It's a reflection. It's meaningless. It's all from within you. The kingdom is within you. How much more clear could it be? The kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Even when the Pharisees asked, when will you return? When will the Christ return? When will the kingdom be here? What does your I am awareness say? No one can see it, right? No one can say, look here or look there, low here or low there, for the kingdom is within you. It's not coming. There's nothing coming from the sky, right? It is all within you. You have everything that you need. You were never a victim. You've always been the source of it all, okay? But there is a silence that only those in pain know, okay? Loneliness is not the absence of others. It is the aching invitation back to oneness. These times when you think you're going through heartbreak and betrayal and loss, this is your soul. This is source. This is your higher self within you calling you back to yourself. In these times where you feel betrayed and you're trying to find validation, you're trying to search for intimacy out there, and your soul is saying, whoa, 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 no. You are remembering yourself incorrectly. See, the moment that you descended down here from unity with source, your soul remembers. And you have this divine ache to get back to unity. And oftentimes, what do we confuse this for? We think it's intimacy with other people. But there is a craving, right? There is a divine knowing to understand who you are that your soul has, that you're going to try to look. You're going to try to look for that in everything. You're going to try to find purpose in everything. And it isn't until you go within yourself that you can find that unity, that you can find that source that never left. Okay? You come from a place where there is no concept of past and future. You have to understand how traumatizing this can be for your soul. Your soul descends into flesh, into matter, into bone, right? And it's introduced to these new concepts, a past and the future. What do these things introduce? Because our ego believes in linear time. And if I believe in linear time, what do I believe? I believe in longing. I'm introduced to the concept of longing. I have a desire, and instead of everything being here right now, I have to go through linear time to get there. I have to move through time to collapse space. So now when I desire something, instead of having it right now, physically, which you do have, right? From an ego perspective, I have to move through time. I don't have it. I feel separate from source, separate from my divine nature. And how do we perceive this? We perceive this as lack, as longing, right? Which I said, when you have this divine energy flowing through you, your ego makes translations. If you have an incorrect assumption of who you are, that energy is going to be translated incorrectly into a negative emotion. So you're going to feel lack and longing because you believe that you are this physical experience. When you are source, you are infinite. Just the fact that you can imagine it, you can desire it, means you have it. Okay? Means you have it. We're also introduced to things like loss. There's no loss in the kingdom. We talked about the story of Lazarus, right? Even if you think of the metaphor of Jesus rising, all right? It was the conquering of death. There is no loss in the kingdom. There is no loss, right? So your mother didn't pass. Your grandmother never passed, right? She may have transitioned from this linear third dimensional experience, but she's always there with you. She's infinite. She could never die. You could never die, right? But when we lose someone here because of our ego, right, we are translating this through a negative emotion. These are not things to run from. These are things to embrace. These are things to look at and remember who you are. These are opportunities to grow, okay? So loneliness is not the absence of others. It is the aching invitation back to oneness. Your soul's always it's craving that oneness. Again, think about that. If everything was right here, right now for you to experience, which it is, and then you descended into this reality where you had to go through time, how would you feel? Well, you're feeling how you would feel, right? Until you come into that divine knowing of who you are, until you realize that you have the opportunity to choose. And when you choose, you have. And everything is unfolding from within you based on your state of being right now. Okay? So it is the womb of the divine feminine holding you in the dark, unforming what no longer serves so you can be reborn. Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Okay? You are not being punished, you are being prepared. When the caterpillar is alone in the whatever this is called, the chrysalis, all right? It is not dying, it is dissolving into its destiny. Okay? It is dissolving into its destiny. So section 3, shadow work. I got a hard stop at like 3:30. Okay, that's cool. We're gonna get through this, right? Pain forces you to meet the parts of yourself that you've banished. The angry child, the weeping soul, the scared voice that never felt seen. What we do naturally, all right, is when we cannot face ourselves, what we'll often do is we'll cast out aspects of ourselves into other people. And it'll manifest as, maybe us being jealous of someone, right? Maybe us being fearful of someone, not realizing that these are just aspects of ourselves. Being frustrated at someone, right? The metaphor that I use, right, is when you're cut off in traffic, who is really cutting you off? It is you cutting yourself off because they're running late for a meeting with you, okay? So in Jungian terms, this is shadow work, reclaiming what you disowned. Not to become perfect, but to become whole, right? Carl Jung, okay, the quote that we all know, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. To embrace your shadow is not to become darkness, but to integrate your humanity. Integrate your humanity. You are not a human, right? You are a human, but you are a spiritual being having a human experience. You are not a human with a consciousness. You are consciousness who is experiencing life as a human right now. You are much more spiritual than you are human. Your physical body, the human part of you, only experiences 0.001% of reality. The rest of it is information, empty space. This is where your spirit, this is where soul, this is where your higher self, whatever you want to call it, source, this is where that resides. In the 100%, really. But a lot of it is in that 99.999% that you do not get to experience. All right? To embrace your shadow is not to become darkness, but to integrate your humanity. You're not here to suppress your emotions, run from your emotions. You're divine. You're not here to run from anything. You're here to know yourself as truth. Know yourself as source. Know yourself as all that there is. Okay? This is what you come down here to experience. The moment that you begin to run from things and fear things, what you are declaring is you do not believe you have a choice. This is why it doesn't even feel good to do that, because you are source. The source within you always has a choice. Whether you're picking things you don't want to experience or do want to experience, you always have a choice. Okay? We can think about this from so many different perspectives. Think about this from a relationship perspective. When you need a relationship, what happens? You just need one. You fiend for it. You run around scratching your neck, just fiending for a relationship. You're off-putting. You don't want somebody that just needs the relationship. The moment they sit down with you, they're just saying all the things that you got to do for them. Okay? This is pulling you away from your divinity. You don't need to be like that. You shouldn't be needy. You don't have to be needy. You choose whatever you want to experience. And it's all pulled towards you because you are source, because you are the center of everything. All right? Neediness is always communicating that you do not believe you have a choice. All right? So to say to your broken self, you belong and you are sacred too. This is what the shadow work is. It's accepting your humanity, accepting your emotions. This is the true definition of detachment, by the way, is you have your desire. You know your desire is coming, and then you detach from how your third dimensional linear body is experiencing life. You allow it to experience the highs and the lows, right? But you stay observing it from that higher perspective, knowing that you are source. Right? None of your feelings or emotions make you any less worthy. You already have what you want. The only thing that is keeping you from the things that you want is you refuse to assume that you are right now. You just refuse to believe that you already are the person that has it. And you already are. You're not separate from anything. Right? where one part of God is, all of God must be there. God is infinite. God is everything, ever present, omnipresent, omnipotent, right? Do we understand what this means? In every reality, in every place that you look, all of God is within everything. All of God is within you because some of God is within you. Okay? So section 4, alchemy, turning suffering into gold. All right, so the alchemists of old didn't just seek to transmute metals. They sought the philosopher's stone of the soul, okay? To turn grief into wisdom, wounds into wisdom, and loss into liberation. This is really what alchemy is about, okay? Everything has this. You have to understand the ancients, right? When they wrote stories, why did they write stories the way that they wrote it? They wrote them this way so that young children could understand them, right? If I give you a metaphor or a parable right now, it might sound silly, huh? So you get all these children to retain this information by telling them an engaging story about something that happened. Oh, this person did this. Okay, cool. Then they get a little older and they go through an experience and they say, okay, remember that story? Well, this is one meaning of it. This is what it's really talking about. Then they get older and they go through something. Okay, remember how I told you that this story meant this thing? It also means this. And so now you'll start seeing that all of these different stories, whether you look at scripture, whether you look at mythology, they all have multiple meanings, right? You're not meant to just dwell on everything from a singular perspective. This is why we can go in certain verses and we can pull out, I guess, historical context if you want to look at it like that. But we can also pull out different metaphysical meanings. We can talk about manifestation. We can talk about alchemy, right? We can talk about going through loss. We can talk about prosperity, right? One person can read a certain book and because of their perspective, their state of consciousness right there, they simply pull out lessons on finances. Another person pulls out lessons on everything. Right? Different perspectives, same meaning. You can read a book 10 times. You can get a different meaning from the book every time. You can pull different lessons. Was the information not there? No, it was always there. It's just as we change in our state of consciousness, our state of awareness, we are ready for new information. Okay? So this is spiritual alchemy, not bypassing the pain, but baptizing it. Not avoiding the fire, but walking through it to become flame. Not escaping the dark, but learning how to see in it, right? Isaiah 45:3. I will give you treasures hidden in the darkness, secret riches. I will do this so you may know that I am the Lord. Now, from one perspective, you could think, oh, he'll give me treasures hidden in the darkness, secret riches. I got to go out there and find something out there hidden, like a pirate in a treasure map, right? Or you can understand, or you can see this from a different perspective. There is darkness in every painful situation that you experience. And when you go through that darkness, you receive gold. When you transmute that, the treasures, right? The secret riches. This is what the alchemists are talking about, right? Transmuting these base metals into gold. When you start to transmute your pain into power, right? That fear into faith, right? When you start to transmute that heartbreak into faith, into prosperity, this is what the alchemists are talking about, okay? So the return, rebirth through the womb of suffering. Every great soul was once shattered. Every prophet wandered the wilderness. We talk about the wilderness experience through scripture, through different texts. We can call it the sacred or the dark night of the soul, right? We can talk about the wilderness experience in scripture. All these things are pointing to going into the darkness to transmute, to facing yourself, to pulling the lessons out of all the experiences that you're going through, okay? Every mystic broke before becoming whole. You are not being buried, you are being planted. Your tears water the soil, your surrender breaks the shell, and when the time comes, you will not return as you were, but as who you were always meant to be. So John 12:24, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed, right? Until you die to your old self, until you can go within and you can kill those old versions of yourself, right? You're denying yourself the opportunity to grow, to get clarity. One of the other purposes of going through things that you do not like is you get more clarity on the things that you want. And energy is just energy. Or we can talk about it from a positive or a negative perspective, a polarity perspective from our human consciousness, right? But energy is just energy. Right? It can all be directed exactly to where you want it to be directed. But are you lingering on what you do not want? Right? Or are you going through the pain to get clarity on what you do want, to transmute that feeling into higher levels of consciousness, into more power? Okay? This is your sacred return. This is your rebirth through the holy womb of pain. Okay, 3 minutes. All right, y'all. So suffering is not your story. It is your shaping. Pain is not the end. It is the invitation. To become what you truly are, you must walk through what your ego fears the most: silence, stillness, and surrender. And in that surrender, you will remember that you were never alone and you were always becoming, right? Revelation 21:5, behold, I make all things new. So a couple reflection questions to end with, all right? Number one, what part of your pain have you been trying to escape rather than embrace? Is there a part of your story that maybe you've been trying to manifest your way out of it, you've been suppressing it, instead of going in there and saying, have I truly dug out all the lessons that my soul wants to show me? If God was in this suffering, if God was in this pain, what lesson would God be trying to show me? If everything is for me, which it is, if I am creating everything, then what belief allows me to feel negative about this situation? Truly dig into it and see, and start transmuting these beliefs, these expectations. Start focusing your mind on the things that you want. All right. Number two, where in your life are you being called into isolation for transformation? Right. Self-explanatory. Okay. Where in your life are you being called into isolation for transformation? I'm not just talking about from people. Maybe it's from music. Maybe it's from the media. Maybe it's from social media. Maybe when you sit down and you try to meditate, you constantly find your mind being pulled to certain influences, to certain memes, to certain song lyrics, right? Maybe this is a calling for you to start to, be more mindful of what you're paying attention to. Take control of your mind. We have to look at our mind like a computer code. Every thought, you have 60,000 thoughts a day. If every single thought is like a line of code, right? Every single thought like a line of code. How many of those lines of code are you coming up with? And how many are being created by other people? By music, by politicians, right? By friends, by your parents' desires for you, by people's expectations that don't really care about you. They're just trying to live their life through you. How many of your thoughts are actually going into reality and creating what you want, all right? And then number three, what wisdom might your wound be trying to whisper? Okay? What wisdom might your wound be trying to whisper? God is always within you. And then number four, right on time, can you let your suffering become sacred by allowing it to reshape you instead of define you? All right, y'all. I appreciate the time. Let me give y'all a couple affirmations to go. Got to jump off, got a meeting. I'll see if they jump on in a second. I see you all as divine. You all are divine. You are perfect. You are prosperity. Every single situation in your life is for you. It is up to you to find the meaning in everything. Everything is you. You are the author, the editor, the reader, and the main character in your own beautiful story. In every single moment, you are telling the story that you are going to walk through life and experience in the next moment, right? Use your pain to create a better story, a more beautiful story. Confront yourself. You are divine. You are source. You don't have to run from anything. You are the creator of everything. All right. Y'all have a beautiful, beautiful day. I might talk to y'all later on. We'll see. All right. But you are all gods and goddesses. If you do not feel that way, it's cool because I see you as that way anyway. So I know it must be true. All right. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Peace.